Now we are going to invite Lea VIDAKOVIC and ask her about her installation work for Tennozu Art Week. Hello, Lea. Your film, The Family Portrait, was awarded at many film festivals, including the Special Jury Award by Tabaimo at New Chitose Airport International Animation Festival in 2023. And then she invited you to take part in this exhibition. How did you feel when she asked, and how did you know about her work?
I know about her work for a very long time ago because I did my PhD about animation outside of the festival context. So it means like animation in art venues and galleries and so on. So while I was researching, I came across her work and I was really fascinating because it's quite different from everything from what we knew from animation. And I was also creating and doing my artwork is in that same kind of way to show rather in galleries and less in festivals, to give more time and space for the viewer to perceive animation in a different format. So this is how I got to know about her. And I was really happy when she was in the jury, and I really wanted to come for that reason to Japan, but it didn't work out. So I was just very honored to receive an award from her, because I never got in touch with her, but I admired her work from far away. So I was really fortunate to be invited after that by her to do this exhibition together, and also with another two artists. So I think it was a really brave from Tabaimo to invite us to create this group work together. But it is a big honor and also a big responsibility, because we want to give our best and to answer for her ideas and for her needs, but also to keep our own identity of our work and then to bring all that together. So yes, I felt very fortunate and excited about this exhibition. And now we are nearly at the end of the, but we are still working on this together, and we are in touch. And it is just really nice to get to also know Tabaimo as artist and person, and to work together with her.
That's really cool. Could you tell us about your background in animation? What was the reason for you to start making animation?
Well, I started to do my art studies in the Art Academy in Croatia, in Zagreb, but I studied painting and graphic prints, traditional graphic prints. So it was nothing to do with moving images or animation at all. It was like a traditional art education. And after my studies, I was interested in installations and performance, more like time-based artworks. And after the school, I got the opportunity to travel abroad to Norway to do an Erasmus exchange and to continue my master's studies in the same field of art. But something didn't work out so well, so I still ended up with this scholarship in Norway, and there was a animation studies, which was offered to us as an alternative, and I didn't know so much about animation. So I just started a new bachelor of animation from the beginning, and this was a bumpy journey because I could not find myself really in the movement in drone animation, but we tried different techniques. And after a year or so, when I found puppet animation, this technique, I discovered that it can offer me everything what I learned before, because there is like also like a tiny installation that you have to build, and there is also time-based performance, and also painting. When we think about light and colors, it's somehow everything comes together in this technique. And then I experimented with these animations outside of the cinema, outside in the galleries, and with different narrative formats. And that really bring me a great joy, because then I can connect animation with art. And then kind of everything was meeting at a good point, but it was not from the beginning very clear that it's gonna end up like that, but it just naturally somehow happened.
Yeah, I think your film, especially when I saw your film, The Family Portrait, I felt like it was a piece of art, and every scene, it felt like really like a fascinating painting. And I'm fascinated by your animation style where you use a stop motion technique and with beautiful lighting and the rhythm of the story. How did you establish your animation style?
Well, thank you first for the compliments. Because I come from the background of paintings, so I guess this is probably where the roots of my style are coming from, because I'm still very much inspired by paintings of old masters, like the treatment of light and color in their paintings are still very deep inside me. So I think this kind of aesthetic is still influencing me, and I'm rarely inspired by animation itself. It's more from other art forms. So I guess I try to recreate in the animation format what I saw and what I like in old paintings to create this atmosphere, and the light and the materiality of puppet animation is giving us this possibility to play with a lot of textures and old objects and have this patina, and we can maybe feel the time in all of these little objects that are created. So I think I just follow what I liked, and that's how I created this kind of particular style, which is like realistic, but also in the puppets, we can see it's not a real human, but in the interior, sometimes without the puppet, we can be mistaken that it is a real room. And I really like this because we don't really know where we are, like we can be mistaken. And I like to keep the viewer on this kind of blurry distance. And yeah, so I guess I like this kind of style, but everything, all my films, also the previous ones, were inspired. For example, Family Portrait was inspired by Danish intimist painters. And they have these interiors, which I colored with light, like natural light. And then my work on my master studies in Belgium, I was inspired by other kind of painters like Vermeer and more darker interiors and chiaroscuro. So I try to bring that kind of feeling to that movie. And then the Family Portrait is inspired by the intimate painters, and the future one is more inspired with something like Baroque. So let's see how these styles can change over time, but I think still I keep this love of light and these touchable miniature structures of the little objects.
Thank you. So now I'd like to know about your work that you're presenting at this exhibition. What was the theme of your work, and how did you come up with ideas based on Tabaimo's concepts?
Well, at the beginning, Tabaimo gave us some requirements, or there were also some forbidden things that we were not allowed to bring in this exhibition space. Like, for example, we couldn't bring in live flowers or fruits or things that has smell or things that rot. So there were some rules that the gallery would not let us in. And then Tabaimo had this really amazing idea that we bring it in, but in animation. So we don't break this rule, but we still introduce these objects. And I was really inspired by that, because at that time I think I was in Belgium and again in museums, and I go and look at the old paintings, and I was inspired by this, the still lives with the many flowers and animals and the food. And so that was the first step for my inspiration. I built everything like in miniatures, all the flowers and all the forbidden things that we were not allowed to bring. So I had the idea to show that spread, but in miniature, in stop motion animation. And we were also not really supposed to have a character in our animation, but more to create like an environment or objects or minimal animation, but not a character focused animation. So I only have one character, which is not very visible, a character of a deer in this interior dining room, but the deer is just pushing the table and things are like shaking, but we don't really see the deer until the very end. So that's my piece of work. And then the deer appears later on in another projection. So I think all of us have some symbols that we try to use on our separate animations. And then these symbols are recognizable from one animation to the other. And right now, Tabaimo is doing the editing of everything together. So she is shaping the work as a whole. But it was a lot of back and forth emails between all of us to try to make some kind of a balance, but also not coordinate very strictly, so everybody still can have a freedom to create their own piece, which are hopefully going well, will work well together at the end.
That sounds really exciting.
So in the exhibition, you will be able to see the miniature little flowers and the miniature table, because Tabaimo also wanted to include the little things as an exhibit beside the projections. So there will be a spot also to see the scale and how these little objects actually look like in real life.
Thank you. That was really fascinating. Thank you, Lea.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.